Hey, what's going on? So in this video, I'm going to be talking about a few tips and tricks that I've developed, 3 to be exact, on how to make a beat like my favorite producer of all time, Just Blaze. I want to preface this video by saying Just Blaze makes a lot of different types of beats, but it's going to be based on the classic beats that he's known for, like Public Service Announcement, Jay-Z's Show Me What You Got, Kendrick Lamar's Compton, those really heavy-hitting hype beats that we all know him for. And also, I'll preface it by saying I'm not as good of a producer as Just Blaze, but this is how I go about trying to make a beat in that style. So the 3 tips, which we'll go into more depth into, are you want to find an orchestral sample that's stabby, you want to have intricate drums, and you want to have variations in energy. So to start off with the first point, which was orchestral and stabby samples, to be more specific, you want to have something that has a lot of hits and something that has a lot of instruments and a lot of detail going on. Because if we want something to be really hype and really big sounding, then you want to make sure you have all the ingredients coming from the sample. So just to start off, here is what I am going to be using as the orchestral and stabby sample. So comment down below if you recognize that sample. I love it, great record, and you should listen to it if you have a chance. First thing I'm going to do is just make a pattern out of this in the way that the Just Blaze type of beat would be. Let's get into it. I'm just going to fool around with it a little bit. So I've already set the BPM to match the sample, which is going to be at 82, and that's right in my favorite range to make beats, and a lot of Just Blaze beats are around that time as well. So let's do it. Perfect, I've got that recorded. I think I made a couple mistakes, so I'm just gonna go in and fix those up right now, and then make sure this pattern is ready to add some drums to.
1 minute, 37 seconds later.
So now I've got that sample chop all cleaned up, ready to go, and we're ready to start adding some drums. And like I said, point 2, tip 2 is having intricate drums in your beats if you want to have them sound like Just Blaze. I saw in an interview with Just Blaze that one of the best hip-hop drummers of all time, Questlove, asked Just Blaze who he had do drums in his beat for Hovey Baby. And Just Blaze said, that was me on the MPC. So that's just a sense of how live sounding Just Blaze can get his drums to sound. And the way you're going to be able to do that is by having cymbals, toms. So here's what I have set up on the pads in terms of drums that we can work with. Couple of kicks, basic snares, then I have a shaker, a hi-hat, and 2 cymbals. The reason I always have 2 cymbals lined up is because if you have 2 hits back to back, it's cool to have like a 2 crash type of sound, as if someone was actually playing the drums. Like I was saying, you want to make sure you have an intricate pattern. For me, I like to do that in steps. So sometimes I'll just do the kick, and then I'll add the cymbals, and then I'll add the snare, hi-hat, etc. Like, you're really going to be layering up those different levels of drums. It's going to be tough to record them all in at once, but for this time through, I'll record the kicks, cymbals, and snares. Perfect. So notice that while I'm recording the hi-hats, I'm not going to be doing it while the cymbals are playing. I'm going to wait a second to get the hi-hat pattern in and just let it breathe a little bit with the cymbals. I'll show you what I mean. Watch this. And you'll hear that because I did that, those stabs sound so much bigger. Sometimes when you want something to sound huge, it's not about adding as many possible elements as you can, it's letting it breathe. And I'm kind of getting into the variations in energy, which was step 3, so I'll move on, but we'll go back to that. I also have the shaker here. So let's see if we can add that into the drum pattern. This is more of just like an accent thing, something that we want to kind of blend in with the pattern a little bit. Here we go. So now I'm just going to add a bass in. I'll use the synth, the digital synth that's built right into the MPC ONE. For this, as you'll see, we don't want a super intricate pattern. All we want is something that matches the sample, but adds a bit more push to the speakers, and really it's going to cover the high ends and the low ends. That's all we want to do. Don't want it to stand out necessarily, not for this beat anyways. Okay, so I found a bass sound. Here's what we're going to be using. And then you notice as well, I turned the bass up a bit just so that I could hear it while trying to match it to the key of the sample. And another point that I want to bring up is if you're having difficulty matching the key of the bass to the sample you're using, it's a bit easier if you record or work with the bass line in a higher octave, and then once you come up with something you like, you can just play it in a lower octave. It's just easier to hear when it's higher up through the speakers that you're using sometimes. Let's do it. So now that I have that recorded in, I'm just going to turn it down a bit because it's definitely too loud. I think that sounds great. And now I think this beat is pretty close to being finished, but last step, step 3, and this goes back to what I was saying about one of the reasons Just Blaze's beats sound so huge is because there's space for the big parts to sound big. And by that I mean there's nothing to compare it to, a big sound, if that's all there is in the whole beat. I could have the cymbals going for like the whole song, right? But it won't sound big because that's the entire thing. But when you have these portions that go down like this and then scoop back up like this, it really makes the cymbal parts and the stabby hits sound huge. So just to once more go over the 3 steps that I have for making a Just Blaze type of beat. 1, you want to have a really big orchestral stabby sounding sample. 2, you want to have intricate drums and try to make them sound like a live kit using things like cymbals, shakers. And 3, variations in energy, because, and to me that's the most important one. When you have those parts that are going to be low, the big parts are going to sound so much bigger. So I really appreciate you guys hanging out and watching. I can't express how much I appreciate it, but if you like what you saw, give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you thought in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Thank you.